Welcome on to the Current Football Radio Podcast. This is your co-host, Jake Puma, with the pride and joy of Merrimack, New Hampshire. Puma. Welcome in, brother, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, but I'm not going to take any airtime real quick off the top because I know you're the captain of the ship. We got you got to bring some news about what we're doing right now.
This is a brand new medium for us. For the longest time, we've been doing this podcast for how many years now? Three years?
Oh God, yeah, 3
4?
years.
Yeah, for the longest time, we decided we were not going to show our ugly mugs because nobody needs to see this. We try to have this hidden at all times, right? Like this is how we talk.
Mm-hmm.
But we decided to try our hand at showing you our faces. I feel like you can engage. You can't really engage, but you can kind of interact with the podcaster or somebody on media better when you see their faces. You see the facial expressions. So I think this would be good for the podcast, man.
It's the dawn of a new era.
Absolutely.
Let's
absolutely.
go.
I'm excited.
Hop on board. The PFR train ain't stopping. We're coming down the tracks. Let's go.
All right. So the one and only topic we got today is Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets. So if you guys didn't hear today, Nathaniel Hackett got hired on as the offensive coordinator for the New York Jets. And with that being said, a lot of people are connecting the dots that Woody Johnson is going to be able to give that steep price of 2 first-round picks and $50-60 million per year the next couple of years. I believe he has $110 million left in his 2 years left. The thought process being the Jets are a win-now team. I mean, they've got some studs on offense and some studs on defense. I mean, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall when he comes back, Elijah Moore, all the guys on defense, Sauce Gardner. And the thought process is that roster needs to win now. You can't sit around and wait for Zach Wilson to become somebody who he may not become, right? You can't go out there and draft a quarterback because if you draft a quarterback, that takes another 2 years to develop. And by that time, this roster is going to be obsolete. So what do you think about Aaron Rodgers to the Jets now that Nathaniel Hackett is in play? Well, actually is the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I think it's almost fait accompli. I think we talked about this on the episode on Tuesday. The Packers have really no desire to trade Aaron Rodgers within the conference. So I think it's definitely going to be an AFC destination point. I think that the Las Vegas Raiders, it's Tom Brady or bust. So logically, the Jets make sense. They got Nathaniel Hackett, who, funny enough, I believe Aaron Rodgers had like a really good rapport with Nathaniel Hackett during his time as the Green Bay Packers. I think he was the quarterback's coach at the time. So I think, the writing's on the wall. There were reports coming out earlier this week that Woody Johnson has no problem paying the 2 first-round draft picks as a minimum in the trade compensation heading back to the Green Bay Packers. And I think for all parties involved, it's probably the best scenario for the Green Bay Packers. I think they're ready to get out of the drama of Aaron Rodgers. And he kind of made it known that he doesn't want to be part of a rebuild. And I think that's where Green Bay is heading at this point. Whereas the Jets, as bad as Zach Wilson has been and as serviceable as Mike White has been at times when he wasn't hurt this year, that defense is elite. And I think they're going to have a really decent run game once Breece Hall comes back. And plus, like the other running backs there, Zonovan Knight really, I think, opened some eyes in that backfield when he was the bell cow for a cup of coffee at times. So I think they can lean on the run and Aaron Rodgers can get the ball to his playmakers. And, we're finally done with the Zach Wilson era. And Jay, when you mentioned, like, they can't wait for Zach Wilson to develop, I think we've seen the high watermark of Zach Wilson.
Well, what's your thoughts on Zach Wilson? So reports have come out that Zach Wilson's failures didn't really atone to the amount of work he was putting in. From all accounts, behind the scenes, the kid was putting in a lot of work. Looks like he was liked in the building, even though he said some stuff on the outside to the media that irked a lot of people the wrong way. Him sucking was not due to him not trying. Like, the amount of work he put in was insane. So I think Zach Wilson's the kind of guy that no matter how much work he puts in, he's just not get the NFL game. Some guys just aren't built for it, right? So let's move this forward a little bit. Let's play some fantasy land. Let's say Aaron Rodgers does go to the New York Jets. Do you think they're the winners out of the AFC East, or is that still the Bills train? Like, how do you see that playing out? Because many have talked about this for a couple of days now with how badly the Bills have kind of self-destructed, right? how badly we've seen Brandon Beam come out and look in his press conference talking about how, the Bengals are on rookie contracts and making excuses left and right.
We don't want to
Leslie
suck
Frazier,
to get Jamar was a direct
exactly
quote.
right. Leslie Frazier seems to not be able to stop a nosebleed, right? So all these things are coming out, and I got this sense that the Buffalo Bills are one losing streak away from imploding. I feel like next year, if they go, let's say 3-3 to start the first 6 games, it could come off the rails. And at that point, who's to say Aaron Rodgers couldn't come in and make some moves with the Jets, right? Is that flawed logic in my opinion?
No, that's not a bridge too far to cross at all. And Jay, I mean, we were talking about this offline, like you said, and you said, I think it's a direct quote. When it comes to the Bills or the field for the AFC East next season, you're taking the field, and I'm taking the field as well too. Especially if you look, you take the 10,000-foot view. I think.
Let me make a quick point about that Brandon Beam excuse making thing he was making. So Brandon Beam said that. So basically, the picture he was trying to paint was they had to pay their players, and that's why the Bengals had the advantage. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
In theory, that's not true because this year against the cap, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow was a $17 million cap hit, and Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen was a $27 million cap hit. So $10 million, I guess, is a big number, but in the grand scheme of things, when it's a $230 million salary cap, it's not that big of a deal, right? So I think next year with Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen counting about $60 million against the cap, that might be the issue, right? That it could all kind of unravel for the Bills, and that's where teams like the Miami Dolphins, if they land a quarterback, or if the Jets have Aaron Rodgers, they can make some noise. Obviously, my Patriots are not going to do nothing at all because we still got McCrap Jones as our quarterback. But still, like that's where I land with the Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, and Miami could make some noise. It's wide open right now.
Yeah, and I think honestly, what I was going to get to was, the Miami Dolphins. They canned their defensive coordinator at the end of the season. I don't even think they got off the plane, and he was out of a job. And a lot of people are drawing the lines that Vic Fangio might be the front runner for the defensive coordinator job down in South Beach. And, reports were coming out that last season, Mike McDaniel wanted Vic Fangio, but I don't know if it was because of, how much, technically the Broncos were still paying his contract. Maybe it was one of those situations where maybe Stephen Ross didn't want to pay the contract to have him come over for the same title, ipso facto, something similar to what New England did with the Joe Judge, Matt Patricia experiment. But all signs are kind of pointing to this being a done deal that Vic Fangio is going to be the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins. And if that's the case, he already has experience working with Bradley Chubb. And now you have Vic Fangio with the Christian Wilkins and Jalen Phillips. And, hey, maybe that secondary can actually step up, and we'll get Byron Jones back and Xavier Howard. I'm not sure if he's still going to be part of the future plans, especially because of how much money he's making. But maybe he takes a pay cut. I think that defense is going to take a big leap forward if Vic Fangio is the guy.
Yeah. If he's the guy, that would be interesting. You've got a good offense. You've got a young, innovative mind on offense with Mike McDaniels. And Vic Fangio, for everything we've heard about him, the guy can coach defense. I mean, before we understand the Denver Broncos were dumpster fire this year, but the one calling card they had was defense. And that was strictly due to the players that Vic Fangio drafted and developed. Even last year, when Vic Fangio was the head coach of the Denver Broncos, their one calling card was defense. So if he comes to the AFC East, that's gonna do wonders. But the Aaron Rodgers thing, I think Woody Johnson is hungry enough to make that play. He wants to have a big, presence in the New York media market. The Jets kind of get lost in the shuffle, right? The Buffalo Bills are the lead dog in Buffalo because there's not much competition. But in New York, you've got the Giants, you've got the Mets, the Yankees, Knicks. You got two hockey teams. And I think with Aaron Rodgers landing with the Jets, that'd be interesting to watch. Now, the one thing I do have a question about is, would Aaron Rodgers want to follow in the footsteps of Brett Favre? Because this is kind of like the parallel move that Brett Favre made from going from obviously the Packers to the Jets. And I wonder if Aaron Rodgers in his ayahuasca state might see that as a negative,
Right. But then, maybe he'll have like an ayahuasca trip where it's like, well, my boy Nathaniel Hackett's going to be there. But I think, you bring up a good point, and, people could say like, oh, like the relationship was never that bad. I mean, Brett Favre really didn't want anything to do with Aaron Rodgers, and Rodgers sure as shit did not want to wait in the wings to be the next guy to take over the mantle of Brett Favre. But Jay, my question for you real quick is, we've seen the passive aggressiveness of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, which is it's nicknamed Title Town, and it's the frozen tundra and everything, and like literally the citizens of the town own the football team.
Yep.
Now we're going to New York, and now it's the Big Apple, it's the media market of the world. How do you think the possible passive aggressiveness is going to play out with Robert Saleh and that media market, and specifically the people that call in on WFAN? Because part of me wants this to happen to see how this is going to play out, because there's always going to be a honeymoon period, Jay. There's always a honeymoon period. But when it comes down to, hey, maybe we lost like 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
Maybe my boy Nathaniel Hackett's like, not doing that great of a job as an offensive coordinator, and Robert Saleh is maybe, saying some things that Aaron Rodgers doesn't like. What's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's going to be an unmitigated disaster if he was there for the long haul. So that's the key here. I think that if Aaron Rodgers spent 10 years in New York, oh my God, every single year would be disastrous with how combative he would be with the media. The way I see this playing out, though, is I think Aaron Rodgers has 1, maybe 2 years left. If he's already in the stage now where, every year he's thinking about retirement, I think the Jets is going to be his last stop, and it's probably going to be 1, 2 years max. And I think that's not going to be enough time for him to allow his douchiness to come through, if that makes sense, right?
So maybe he'll be accelerated. He's like, oh, I don't have to like do the song and dance for Woody Johnson for 5 years or try to get a new contract. It's like, okay, like upcoming season, assuming he's traded, of course. Let's say next season he is with Gang Green. And then like the last season, it is like, salvos every media session. Oh my God, give me all of this. I can't wait.
Yeah, but like, I mean, why is he going to be mad though? Like, why is he going to be combative? Because like, in my opinion, like you're going to a stack roster, right? You're going to a massive media market. You're getting your $110 million over 2 years. And your best bud, Nathaniel Hackett, that made you laugh. Remember the story that came out?
Yeah,
Nathaniel Hackett was his bud, and they would make each other laugh and tell jokes, and that's why he loved Hackett so much. Not because of his offensive prowess. Obviously, that's not why Aaron Rodgers likes him. So I don't understand why he'd be mad. He'd be in a perfect situation. He's getting his money. He's out of Green Bay. It looks like he's tired of Green Bay. So I feel like it could work out. In the short term, it could work out.
Yeah. I think I might have to get subscribe to the New York Post or the Daily News for the back pages, because I mean it seems like Aaron Rodgers may or may not be a free agent because Blue of the Earth ain't involved anymore. So,
well, now he's dating that chick that is the Milwaukee Bucks' owner's daughter.
The owner's daughter, right?
Yeah. So the guy that owns that's his daughter he's dating. So whatever. Yeah, but imagine does Mike Francesa still have a radio show in New York?
No, he's not on the Fan anymore. So the afternoon, it's Craig Carton and Roberts. I'm forgetting his first name. Evan Roberts and Craig Carton. But no, I mean I can't wait because there's gonna come a point.
Yeah,
it may not be the first week. It may not be to the end of the season, but there will come a time where we're going to get pissy Aaron Rodgers, and I just want to see how the New York media do that. But Jay, you bring up a great point to get back to the seriousness of football. There is literally no excuse,
of course,
for him to be upset. Like,
of course,
I think he's got the better playmakers. I'm high on Elijah Moore, and let's say Elijah Moore, let's say Aaron Rodgers goes there, I think Elijah Moore might be the biggest beneficiary of that, because he was lost in that entire offense last season between, the Mike White experiment to Zach Wilson regressing to freshman year of BYU, and then Garrett Wilson taking over the targets. I think Aaron will be able to hopefully distribute the ball, assuming he doesn't get laser focus eyes like he did with Devontae Adams when he was there. But I think Elijah Moore can take a big step forward.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how things unfold in the New York, was it hemisphere? New York sphere, whatever it is, the New York media market.
The megapolis known as New York City.
All right. Well, listen, that was a good first video for us, man. It's good to get our faces on the screen, Hodge twins homage.
Yep.
If you want to plug it up, sir, we can get out of here.
Yeah, so this episode of the video experience of the Pro Football Radio podcast can be found on our YouTube page at www.youtube.com/Pro Football Radio Podcast or /PFR podcast. Podcast wise, you have Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else where you get your podcast at Pro Football Radio Podcast. Be sure to leave a 5-star review. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, Pro Football Radio Podcast. The Twitter machine, PFR Podcast. I'm on Twitter at Brando_Puma, and Jay Chima is at Jay Chima. Like, subscribe, download. Be sure to hit us up on social media. And otherwise, it was great to share this experience with you guys for the first time. And Jay, it's again dawn of a new era.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys next week.
Via con Dios.